Okay. Good evening. Welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education. Oh, we have some more. Great. Come on in. Yeah.
Here's your seat, Dawn. You're welcome. Thank you, Evan. Come and sit down. Thank you. You're right on time.
Great timing. Mrs. Marcus, you have some special guests.
Yes, I do. Thank you for having us this evening to do the pledge. We have the senior members of our AAA boys runner-up at the state soccer tournament, and we're delighted to have them tonight. We have Cole. His sister is the media darling that you might have seen on the front page of the Journal on Saturday. We have Sam. We have Evan. Here we have Juan. Back there we have Bryce and Tyler, Christopher, Becker, Blake, Al. And they're delighted to be here and pleased. Gentlemen.
Please. Lead us in the pledge.
And we have some of their parents as well. We're happy that you came.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, gentlemen. And congratulations.
Congratulations.
Great season. And parents, I can't believe they're seniors.
Yes, they're seniors.
All those were seen.
All of them.
Oh my God.
Thank you again for having us.
Good grief.
Thank you. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Sam Vera.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, that was awesome. That was a nice way to start a rainy night.
Yes.
Madam Superintendent?
Yes, sir. The only comments that I have tonight are regarding our LSIC. We've actually been working very hard with feedback from both folks in the schools, the LSIC committees themselves, feedback from the board, and we recently sent out to all of the principals a template that we are working on. So for each one of our local school improvement committees, we're working on having a more consistent process and one in which we provide a higher level of support. And very appropriately enough, Mr. Ebersall's here, and with his very hard work and Mr. Blanc's support, we are providing all of the LSICs with a pre-populated presentation template with all of their data in it, all of their achievement data, all of their attendance data, discipline data, so that the board and the LSICs all start from a common data point. And share that information, and then they are going to share information about which of those things they find the most compelling and which of those data points they're committed to changing and what support they need from us to do that. So, and all of the board members will get a jump drive with all 17 of those loaded onto them for your laptop. So as folks are presenting, you'll have all of their presentations pre-populated as well.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And when roughly do you expect that we'll have our annual meetings? I mean, I know we've all been meeting individually with the LSICs. Thank you all for doing that. But when will we be having our board meetings with them?
That will be after the Christmas holiday. We will have everyone's templates out to them before the Thanksgiving holiday. We've committed to having it out by the 20th, and then we've told them once we get your templates out with all of your data, you fill it in, and then we have a principals meeting next week, and we're going to talk to them about pros and cons of different scheduling methodologies, like timing, time of year, how not to interfere with other things that we have going on with the budget process and calendar. And so if the board has any feedback about when you would like to see those, I would love to hear it, and we'll use that in our planning.
Great.
So if something in particular has worked best for you, please let me know.
The only feedback I had received, and it was what you, I think, have addressed with this template, is that the LSCCs I have visited with have stated that they want there to be the feedback. They would like to be able to, for us to have it ahead of time so that we can have a more comprehensive dialogue with them, and that they want the follow-through after, and that hopefully with the template we will be able to do that, where they also asked maybe for a board feedback template that, you know, at each meeting we would provide them with feedback on what we thought as well. And then, you know, if these are their specific things they're working on, then next year it's not as though they're doing the whole thing again for nothing, but like what actually happened from that? How did we use the data from all that to maybe change something, or how do we provide for them with their requests, or those types of things that they just really felt like we needed to change that piece.
So that's good feedback. We do have within that template, which you've seen, we have a space for them to tell us what their priorities in terms of support are, and we have purposely kept that fairly narrow because, you know, tell us what, don't give us 20 things, tell us, you know, what are your top 3 to 5 things that we can really focus on and give you feedback on, and we've confined that to a single page as they submit those. We've talked about we're going to take each one of those, and after the board's meeting and the board's feedback, we're assigning those out at the leadership team. It's going to be, you know, different people's responsibility to get back to them and say, okay, I'm your liaison. These were the things that the board discussed. This is my follow-up. But we didn't have within that a place. Does the board want? You get these templates ahead of time and you see all of these things. Do you want a way for you to yourselves each like put in writing a response, or collectively create some sort of response to them yourselves, or you want to do that through the staff? Does that make sense? So you're going to get the LSIC's presentations in advance, and then we will have their one page of their presentation is, here are our priorities, here's the support that we most want, and then we'll follow up back to them. Does the board want a separate follow-up from that?
I don't think that's necessary, really.
So some of them may be budgetary items, some of them may be policy or procedural.
Some of it will take time after that presentation.
Yeah, I think honestly the sense that I'm getting is that number one, which the template will take care of in many ways, is if we have it ahead of time, whereas before we were sitting in front of them, we get the information, and yes, we had some of the information, but then we get the information, of course we're, you know, going through it, coming up with questions, then you're not necessarily paying as full of attention to the person that's presenting, and sometimes I think that feels a little bit maybe rude to them as well, although you want to be prepared and have those questions ahead of time, or be able to then have dialogue about that. And I think they just wanted it, the sense I got anyway, was that it would be more open, but then as well afterwards they would just want to see how does that process mean anything long term, which I think we're moving in that direction anyway. And there will be ways to do that. That's the feedback I think that they were looking for. They just wanted some way to get it. And they weren't sure if it wasn't from the board or it wasn't in a specified template or feedback paperwork, that they would never hear from anybody again. I think that was probably my sense of what their overwhelming concern was.
We'll have a very specific template for how we give the feedback to them. We'll give copies of those to the board, and given that they'll have 6 to 8 weeks, depending on when in the late winter, early spring you want to hold these, to be able to create theirs, you'll be able to get them in several weeks in advance. So.
It seems to me like any feedback coming from the board, though, should come from the board through the administration, not directly from the board. I don't think that's a good idea.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
At our last board meeting, thinking citizens' comments, we'd heard from a parent regarding a bus stop concern. I think it was a subdivision off of Route 51. And I know that Mr. Puglisi that was his very first, or the next day, so he's been on the job 2 weeks.
Yes.
So do you know if we've responded to this gentleman yet?
Yes, sir. Mr. Puglisi responded to that request in an email, which he copied me on, and then the citizen who made the public comment copied me on his reply for them to set up a date, both for Mr. Puglisi to go out and do the survey of the neighborhood, and also to have an experienced driver take a bus out and actually run the route with them together to look for certain points. And then he would issue a finding to him in writing, which seemed to be satisfactory. They did ask that if we could make a decision before the first snowfall, which which I hear is going to be fairly significant, but that if we could do that, and Mr. Puglisi committed to doing that. So.
Well, thank you for that follow-up, and please extend our appreciation to him for getting on top of things quickly.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's see, aren't you neglecting some update regarding you and Mr. Blanc?
Oh, thank you so much for that golden opportunity. Mr. Blunt put you up to that. I did spend the entire day, not in this suit, but in a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. Dr. Gibson is a Raiders fan, and we lost to the Steelers, and we had a bet that whoever lost would wear the other's jersey for a day, and Mr. Blunt very generously brought in a lovely gray that matched my suit Steelers jersey, and I am deeply appreciative. I believe there may even be pictures.
It's agreed, though, it was better if she wore one of my shirts and me try to wear one of hers.
Although several staff members said it would be worth watching the Steelers lose just to see Pat try to do that.
All right, let's see. Minutes from last regular board meeting. Motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, clarifications? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Citizens' comments. We have two tonight. Ms. Reynolds.
Good evening, members of the board. As the president of the Jefferson County Education Association, I stand before you this evening to discuss yet another West Virginia state funding issue. The lack of our legislators' funding of the Public Employees Insurance Agency, or PEIA. I'm sure you're aware of this problem, but I would like to address it and ask for your support. Jefferson County Board of Education employees and retirees, along with employees and retirees from Berkeley, Morgan, and Hampshire counties, as well as other state employees from our area, and a Berkeley County Board of Education member, voiced their concerns at the PEIA hearing held in Martinsburg last Tuesday. PEIA can no longer keep pace with escalating healthcare costs. The reasons for this are numerous, but include medical inflation and an increased planned population, yet the legislature has not increased funding to PEIA since 2011. Over the past 4 years, benefits have been reduced and some premiums have increased. At the present time, education employees and retirees, along with other state employees and retirees, are facing even more cuts to health benefits and increased payments out of their own pockets. These include removing the family with employee spouse discounts, increasing premiums, increasing copays, increasing prescription and medical deductibles, increasing out-of-pocket maximums, and decreasing the benefits from that 80-20 to the 70-30 portion, among others. Educators' salaries in West Virginia have never been nationally ranked as high. However, the benefits package was a positive recruiting and retention tool for hiring and keeping new educators. With proposed changes to PEIA, this is no longer the case. I foresee an even greater shortfall of qualified educators in our state, as well as in Jefferson County. Educators and retirees, as well as school systems, cannot simply cannot afford these changes. They will affect everyone, including our students. The only way these benefit cuts and increased employee payments can be avoided is for the legislature to fund PEIA. How many businesses are allowed to increase their number of employees without additional health benefit payments being made for those employees? None of which I am aware. JCEA is requesting that you, the members of the Jefferson County Board of Education, stand with the employees in this county and contact the PEIA board to voice our concerns. We also ask that you contact our legislators and ask that PEIA be funded for the welfare of all those touched by our school system. For your convenience, I have attached the names of the PEIA, our HBT Finance Board, and contact information. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Young.
Good evening. For those who don't know, I'm president of School Service Personnel in Jefferson County. And we have so many concerns going on right now. With the increase of PEIA, the state cuts in the counties across the state, I mean, teachers in service are preparing to leave. They're looking for other jobs. I know just today, while a teacher was crying because they had to leave the school that they had planned to stay for some time, but could not afford to keep her and her children in this county to work. That is really, when it hits home like that, it really is hard to deal with. And I see this, and you're crying with them, you know, and you have nothing to say to them. You don't know how to fix it. You don't know what to do for them. They have got to do what they feel is needed for their family. But it's a shame that they can't stay in the system that they want to, county they want to, and work. And it just is very heartfelt to know that we have to do something. I mean, I'm begging for the school board to support the teachers and service, to try to fight together, not beside us, not behind us, not behind us or in front of us, but beside us, so we can fight PEIA and what they're doing to us. I mean, we have a long battle in this county with the levy, with, you know, like the cuts, and then the PEIA. I'm scared. I'm scared of what our children are going to have, because it's not going to be a whole lot of education, because there's not going to be anybody here. It's a fear that I've had for some time. I do feel that if we work together, it's not a union thing. It's not AFT, it's not WVEA, it's not WVSSPA. It's everyone's problem. It's everyone's issue, and we need to do something. So I think we need to put things down and get together and work together. Something's got to give. When is enough enough? Thank you.
Thank you. As you both know, since this item's not on the agenda tonight, we can't take any action, but I would recommend that we put something on for the next meeting so that we can officially join you in this effort in Charleston. Mr. Cable and I were at a meeting earlier tonight, along with both Ms. Reynolds and Ms. Young, on the working on the levy issue. So thank you both for your efforts on that. So. Consent agenda.
Yes, sir. The only changes on there are the ones noted in red. They are predominantly date changes due to the Veterans Day holiday to incur savings for the school system, so that we don't have folks starting the day of a holiday and paying them for a holiday for their first day of work. We are turning over every stone, trying to save some money.
Okay. Motion on consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Do we have a?
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Number 28.
Yeah. So we need to act
Yes,
on.
sir.
Okay. All right.
So,
Okay. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
So, number 28, the appointment for the interim director of people services. As you know, we've been through several rounds of searching for a qualified director of pupil services. It is a very difficult time of year and a hard-to-fill position. We continue to advertise for that position. It continues to be open. However, the retiree, Miss Ann Ebersol, who very kindly was filling in for us, has reached the maximum amount of her service that she's capable of providing under West Virginia Code. So, in consultation with our legal counsel and in looking and speaking with our staff, we were very blessed to be able to find an individual who both has a special education background, has administrative licensure, has been interested in moving into administration, and did not seek the position, was willing to be considered as an interim and use it as a growth experience as we continue to seek someone for the office. And that is Miss Cindy Fitzwater. So, Miss Fitzwater,
Great.
thank you for joining us, ma'am. So Ms. Fitzwater is currently a teacher at Driftwood Elementary. And of course, our first priority is always classrooms first, children first. We will not be utilizing Ms. Fitzwater's services as an interim until Driftwood has been able to obtain a qualified substitute for that fourth grade class. And then we deeply appreciate Ms. Fitzwater's willingness to take on, quite frankly, a very difficult, time-consuming job in the interest of service to Jefferson. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much on behalf of the board. We know this is a big task, and we're deeply grateful that you're going to step in.
Thank
you. Old business, new business. Hearing none.
Yeah. Actually, for new business, we have a request to post a new position for transportation, which Mr. Dingles will give you some information regarding.
Sure. It's a halftime, as-needed bus run for a person with a McKinsey-Vento Act. And there's really not much more I could say about it, considering it's for that purpose.
We've made several efforts at a host of things. This is not a bus carrying a single student. No. We have two situations. One, once again, trying to respect the confidentiality of students. We have a group of students who are at one school, and due to class sizes there, we are busing them to another school so that we do not have to hire an additional teacher at that school. And we also have added students who qualify under McKinney-Vento, who we are required to go from whatever their current place of residence, even if it's out of zone, into the school where they were. We've worked with transportation and made several attempts to reconfigure other routes to absorb these, and simply have not been able to do that. So we are hopeful that this will be a singleton year on that route, both with the overages, because then those students with numbers next year would be able to go back to their home school. For the students who qualify under McKinney-Vento, we are working very hard with them. Alex White and Dr. Hoff's office is working very hard with them to help connect them with outside services, and we're hopeful that they will be able to stabilize their domestic situation and may not require the additional assistance for the entire year.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? How do you, what the as needed, how do you think that becomes defined?
We wrote that in if the person's domestic situation changes and we no longer have to configure that route in such a way as to meet their needs, we may be able to change it and absorb those students. So That's we wanted to give ourselves the flexibility if we could change it to save money and not have to do this, that we will. We are also awaiting the report from West Virginia Department of Education and Mr. Pickens and his staff, who came down and gave us a review about potential reconfiguration of transportation routes to save money. Currently, transportation is about 9% of our overall budget, and it is a place where if we can be more efficient and still meet kids' needs, we can continue to meet our fiscal obligations without making any cuts to the classroom, which is our ultimate goal, which we've managed to do thus far.
How do we stand with that report?
We held a meeting last week, I believe it was, the beginning of last week, where Mr. Pickens and one of the folks who did the interviewing as part of the process came and met with us, and they did not have a written report, they had notes, and they wanted to have a discussion with us about, we saw this and we were, we have questions. Is this really how you do it? Do you have a policy that covers this? And so we spent about 2 hours talking through with them, and they committed to, within the next 2 weeks, getting us a written report. I had a phone conference scheduled with Mr. Pickens Friday, was it Friday? And he called and canceled that morning because he stated that he had, State superintendent had called him. I was like, well, you gotta go, I get it, I'm lower on that totem pole. But we have not received that written report yet. But I am hopeful that we'll have it in time for the board to review it before the next board meeting. But we want to get it in time to sit down with Mr. Puglisi, as we expect there'll be fairly extensive recommendations in it. Not only do we have a new transportation director, we have a new facility that has very different capabilities than the other one. So we talked about everything from being able to have far fewer extra buses. Because right now, when you only got 2 bays at a time and something's in there long term, you have to keep 30 extra buses, to be able to keep enough of them running to run your routes. When you have, 4 times that number of bays, and you could turn things over quicker and be working on more of those at the same time, we don't need, our overage is higher than what the average percentage is for the state. So there may be several things that we can do to save money there. But we will provide that report to the board as soon as we have it in our hot little hands.
And not freeze while fixing them. Right?
And not be there in an overcoat.
It'd be nice for our mechanics.
Be able to close the door.
That's right.
Well, since we're on the topic of buses, can we also then get an update on where we are on the status of the new facility and then the transition plan?
Yes, sir. We have been informed by the fire marshal that he anticipates being able to sign off for occupancy and us starting to move in on November the 18th was the last date that we have. And barring any other unforeseen complications, Mr. Puglisi and Mr. Dingus are working on a transition plan. Of course, we have to keep transporting students every day. We can't stop everything and go. And they will be submitting a transition plan of which sections of the shop they're going to move at a time and what the cost of that is going to be to us.
Great.
But we anticipate having all of the operations moved over by the end of first semester. It'll be a gradual process. Some of it, week of Thanksgiving, first week in December, so.
Okay, we have a motion for us to approve this new position for transportation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We anticipate a brief executive session for an update on pending litigation. No action to be taken, is that our understanding?
That's my understanding.
Okay. All right. Well, before that, we'll check, see if there are any comments or questions from board members. Who wants to go first? Mr. Cable?
The only thing I have is Mark and I attended the state meeting for the association on Saturday. I felt it was a very productive meeting and brought back a lot of information that brought to the superintendent that I think she will find interesting. A lot of legal stuff, updates on legal things that have passed the legislature and that sort of thing. So it was a productive meeting.
Ms. Skinner? Mr. Osborne?
Congratulations to all our fall sports teams.
Once again, I want to thank Ms. Reynolds and Ms. Young for their participation in the Citizens Committee on the school levy, and others who the committee met tonight. I know that they're all active in the community to inform folks about the levy vote and how important it is, which is once again scheduled for December 12th. The school board received today a letter from the Jefferson County Development Authority endorsing the renewal of the levy and strongly encouraging the voters of Jefferson County to vote in favor of the excess school levy on December 12th. That's from the Jefferson County Development Authority. We also received a letter today from Pete Daugherty, former board president, sheriff, and the honorary chair of the Friends of Jefferson County Libraries, where he is also writing to express the strong support for the library community for renewal of the levy. So thank you to those groups. And Mrs. Horner or Dr. Gibson, it'd be great if we could get some electronic copies of these, if we can.
Yes, sir, we'll scan those in, certainly.
And then a reminder that the League of Women Voters is hosting tomorrow night a public forum on the school levy at 7 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
7 o'clock at Wright Denny. This is an effort to just inform the community of what the levy covers, and I know Dr. Gibson and I will be there to answer questions. So thank you all, and we'll consider a motion for executive session pursuant to West Virginia law to discuss pending litigation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.